Okay, good morning, everyone. So we are from group 2. Today want to present about. Oh sorry, ulang.
Lanjut aja lah kasih. Nanya manja.
Okay, so today we are group 2. Want to present about psychology in SLA. So the member of the group consists of me, Issi Dea Berkatnu, and there is Mahmud and Muhammad Ikhsan Wahyudi. So without aku kacau buat berladang. Itu di stop ke kita.
Masih jalan nih.
Aku bingung sendiri. Pulang dari awal. Ulang dari awal. Okay, good morning everyone. So today we are from group 2, consists of me, Issi Dea Berkatnu, there is Mahmud and also Muhammad Ikhsan Wahyudi. Today we want to present about psychology in SLA. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, for the first material will be delivered by me. First material is psychological perspective on second language. The first, there is a neurological makeup. The second one is brain organization and successful of learner. Psychological perspective on what is acquired in SLA concentrate on addition or change that occur in neurological makeup and how to multilingual brains is organized. We have seen the physical representation of the second language in the brain is not very different from the first, but there are differences in brain's organization which related to how proficient people are in L2 and to how they learn it. The question of why some learners are more successful than others lead to examination of difference in the learner themselves. We find that language learning outcomes are influenced by age, aptitude, and motivation. Other factors in individual learning style and strategies correlate with degrees of success is in SLA, but we can much less mark of claims for cause-effect relationship. Humans are inherently social creatures, and it is difficult to assess individual cognitive factor in language learning apart from the influence of learners' total social context to which we turn next. For the next material will be delivered by my friends. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to continue my friend's presentation, and we are going to talk about 5 elements of second language positive psychology. Their first, humanistic movement, and second, models of motivation. Third is the concept of affective filter. Fourth, study of the good language learner, and the fifth is literature on self-development concept. We're going to talk about 5 all of that. So the first things that we are going to talk is humanistic movement. So humanistic movement approach took a holistic view of the learner, combining cognition and affect. The underlying assumption, as expressed by Roberts, that the affective aspect of language learning are as important as the cognitive aspect, and therefore the learner should be treated in some sense as a whole person. Today, few would disagree with such a core principle and the importance for understanding language learning psychology and behaviors. However, humanism became closely associated with alternative forms of language teaching such as suggestive idea, silent way, and total physical response. As with humanistic psychology, these instructional methods came under considerable criticism for the lack of scientific support and validity. However, the humanistic tradition as a guiding approach and epistemology has had a considerable lasting influence in SLA. And the second that we're going to talk about is models of motivation. In particular, R. Gretner and his college has played an important role in showing attention to socio-affective factors and the importance of positive attitudes toward the language, its speaker, and related cultures. In the socio-educational model, Gardner holds that positive attitude toward the learning situation, teacher and course, facilitate language learning. The social milieu in which the learning takes place is a key source of both positive and negative attitude, as learners internalize elements of the context in which they live. Clement's socio-contextual model places even more emphasis on the learning context, the power relationship among language groups, and tension between language acquisition and language loss, especially for members of minority group learning the language of majority self-confidence, which is defined the low anxiety and perception of high linguistic competence. Both Gardner's and Clement's model foreground the role of social and cultural context, highlighting that individual psychology doesn't exist in a vacuum. An individual learner is always embedded in a multiple context. Now the number 3, 4, and 5 will be explained by my friends. So I think that's all from me. Thank you so much. My friends, the floor is yours. Lisan, please unmute yours.
Yes. All right. So the next is the concept of affective filter. So a third perspective of note is offered by Krashen in 1995, who also drew attention to the role of emotions with what he termed the affective filter. Krashen argued that a high degree of negative emotion raises a filter that reduces the amount of comprehensible input reaching the learner. Conversely, in the presence of positive emotions, the affective filter is lower and the learner is open to being exposed to more comprehensible input. The fourth one, study of good language learner. A fourth noteworthy approach, studies of the good language learners, provides recognizable parallels to the holistic approach of Maslow's studies of self-actualizing persons. Essentially, GLL studies sought to understand the lesson that can be learned from good or expert learners or teachers. The related set of studies of expertise also examine positive examples of learners and or teachers, typically focusing on the integrated use of competences and skills. An important feature of many GLL studies has been the tendency to look at the process by which good learners acquire a foreign language and not just merely describe the learner and their language output. Such a process-oriented approach to understanding the learner resonates with more recent developments in complexity perspective. And the fifth one, literature and self-development concept. This approach stresses the importance of having positive future goals and requires a requisite level of optimism. Most recently, a fifth line of relevant research has developed to emphasize the self as a central concept. With respect to motivations, Alto's self-system model proposed that people are motivated to deal with perceived discrepancies between their current sense of self and their future selves. One, to move closer to their visuals of an ideal self, and another to prevent developing negative aspects of the self, such as a sense of failure or disappointing important others. This approach stressed the importance of having positive future goals, a requisite level of optimism that one is able to change and potentially achieve these future self states, as well as the strategic knowledge necessary in order to achieve future goals. Related studies investigating the self in its various forms also highlight the role of positive self beliefs, a sense of competence, a growth mindset, and accompanying optimism about the potential for positive change in one's abilities. Right? Next slide. All right, so that's all our presentation. On behalf of my team, I would like to say thanks for you guys for listening and sorry if there is any inconveniences.